What's good, party people? This is According to Woods, and I have the honor and privilege of having a mixed martial artist out of the Pacific Northwest. He is the one and only Nathan Monaco. Nathan, how are you doing, my man?
Oh, I'm doing great. Today's a beautiful day. It's hot over here where I'm at right now. I'm sitting outside of uh, my little suburbs, or the ghetto, I like to call it, in our town. So I'm just relaxing. My family inside, they're getting their day started and everything like that. So today's been pretty good.
No, absolutely. It's kind of crazy times that we're living in. So if you can get a little bit of, you know, like a canary in the coal mine, so to speak, like you gotta savor that. You gotta, hold it for all it's worth.
Yeah, oh yeah. And with everything that's going on right now, it's best to stay safe. But I mean, at the same time, it is what it is. People have to either help one another out, or we're going to be our downfall. That's definitely one of those things. Is we need more people out there like that.
No, 100%. And that's the craziness about like this time, right? Because literally there's like 70%, possibly 80% of any, whether it's like social media or news stories and whatever, and they pit everyone against each other, and it's like kind of like a grinder, right? But
Yeah,
like I said, if we could just care about one other person, not himself. Yeah, it doesn't matter what they believe, doesn't matter who they voted for, doesn't matter who they marry. That doesn't None of that stuff matters. Like what really matters is like, hey, you're my neighbor. Are you okay? Is there anything I can do? And then we can work up from there. And with all of the descriptions that I mentioned, one thing that is unequivocally true: we're all trying to figure it out, and nobody really has the answers. They may think they know, but nobody really knows.
right. Yeah, that's definitely true. You have a lot of people out here, and I think social media is one of those things, that have really allowed people to dive into saying anything that they want. It's all opinion based, and it's what's true and what's false anymore. And media outlets are the biggest ones that'll lie to you. And it definitely, with this whole thing that's going on, I know people who have caught COVID. I have a baby mama whose son caught COVID. It's a very serious thing. He was just a little boy, and it put him down for 2 weeks. 2 weeks. He couldn't eat. He couldn't breathe. He was hospitalized. It's a real thing.
No, absolutely. And I on both sides of the spectrum. I know people that have got it and they're a okay, and then there are people that have got it or their loved ones got it and they passed away. And I mean,
Yep.
three of those people that ended up passing away were in literal perfect health, ran triathlons, all that jazz. It did not matter at all. So it's
Right.
and again, it's just like obviously, with the policies that are being enacted or not enacted or whatever, again, there isn't any. I mean, March, right? I mean, I
Right.
remember going to the Queen Mary here in Long Beach where a female women's only submission jiu-jitsu tournament submission on the shore. That was just in like early March, first week of March, and literally the next week, everything was completely different. The world was completely different. So it's weird, but again, the only way we're gonna kind of get out of this is about caring about each other, and much like in every kind of I guess you would say tragedy or kind of like events, right? After the Oklahoma City bombing, everybody went together. After 9/11, everybody came together. And then, the financial crisis. And then here we are with COVID. People came together. And that lasted all of about a week. And
Yeah.
then everybody started to turn on each other. It was almost cannibalistic. And yeah, it was nutty. But I've kind of gone through the methodology, memes and podcasts. That's literally what you'll find on my page, and even the memes that I post, I don't mean any harm. You're not going to get any like, oh, if you don't agree with me, you can unfriend me. No, no, it's all good-hearted memes. So either you're going to see, if you scroll across my timeline, if you care enough to scroll across my timeline, you're either going to find out about some new person that we're podcasting with, or you're gonna laugh your ass off, and that's
Right.
just the way we're gonna do it.
That should be with most things. I mean, especially, after all this stuff has happened, I've had organizations from Washington, from California, from all sorts of areas hit me up, and I'm not a very big person on the spectrum as far as it goes in Miami career. So my first fight I took on a short notice. It was a title fight down in Susanville, and I went down there. I didn't know what to expect. Man, I was pretty. I'm over amping the whole time for an hour before, and that's one of those things is where people are looking at me like, "What are you doing, dude? Like, what is your deal?" And I'm just sitting there, kind of, yeah, let's get this. I'm gonna get it right now. That's how it's gonna be. And you don't know what to really expect when you first go in there for your first time, and it's not like it is when you're training. And so I was in a backyard gym here. It was his name's Chad Butler. He's a good guy, great person. And I met a couple of people down there. Big. Some of them are pretty big here, and some of them aren't. You know what I mean? And they're all great guys. I mean, they fight their ASS is off. I don't know if we're allowed to cuss on here.
Yeah, Chris, come on.
Oh, okay. So yeah, and it was one of those things. Is my buddy he got injured, and they asked me to step in. So I said, okay, yeah, I'll go ahead and do it. And I fought for Arena Wars. Shout out to Michael Phillips, or yeah, Matthew Phillips. Sorry, not Michael Phillips. We're not having swimming competitions here. So yeah, and that was one of those things. Was I took that short notice fight, and I went down there and I fought a monster. I mean, this guy he's really top ranked. He's had a lot of good fights, but anybody you fight, to go in there and think that nobody is going to be on a skill set that might be higher than you, might be lower than you, is an oblivious statement to not think that there might be a possibility I could lose this, or that I might not have the same skill set. But I went in there, dude, and I had an absolute war, and I went back with Curtis Fields. Shout out to Curtis Fields. That dude's he's gone through. He's been on the ups and downs of everything, and he's had a lot of good clean records and got a lot of good wins. And I fought for Arena Wars. I fought for the Budo fights in Bend, Oregon. I fought for the FCFF, and I fight through weapons grade MMA. I go there pretty much, just to scope out things. I've been a fighter through them for years, and I've kind of been doing my own thing since this COVID stuff happened, because everybody's having to wear masks down there, and you can't be picky and choosy when it comes down to your family and their safety. My family, personally, my wife has a lot of breathing issues, so I already have to separate and seclude myself. So I actually have my at-home gym. It's not the greatest thing in the world, but I pertain myself to going pro. I've had amateur fights that could have gone my way. I had bursitis in my hips. I had a fracture in my spine that was actually 2 fractures, which led to a compression fracture right there in the 6th lumbar, and it was really bad. And I went into fights like that. I had my coach, Cole Milani, awesome person. Love you, Cole, with everything in my heart. He's just, he's gone through some stuff lately that's been kind of ups and downs for him. So I pray for him every night. And that's part of it, though, is that you're going to have the ups and downs in the roller coaster, especially in this industry. Everybody wants to be somebody, you know what I mean? And it's what you're willing to do to climb to the top. I took enough time to heal. So I healed myself, and then I just focused on my pro training and everything that I could do. Just the other day, I actually broke my foot. I threw a question mark kick, toes down even, and when I hit it, I have my punching bag out here. I didn't hit the tires, so don't think that. But I do kick the tires, so don't get me wrong though. But I threw a question mark kick, and it actually caught my pinky toe on something, and from this knuckle right here it split straight across like that. So luckily it was a clean, perfect break. I've actually got a boot on.
Wow.
Yeah, and I actually came out here and trained yesterday. I mean, it's one of those things is either you're going to push yourself to be the best, you're going to climb over people, you're going to do whatever it takes, but don't step on people. You know what I mean? Like you don't bite the hand that feeds you, especially. And there are these great athletes that, that came from that workshop, that came from that underground scene and just really became something. And I, as a martial artist, everything, I'm not sure if you saw the posts of some of my pro level skill that I threw on there. That is everything that I pretty much, it comes naturally for me. I feel that. And I feel like I hold myself back when I'm doing some of these amateur fights because I'm thinking up here on this level and I have to stay, sequenced to throwing the basic stuff. And sometimes I find myself in trouble when I'm doing that. Even at the gym, like my coach would tell me, I'd go to throw this head kick in sparring that just would have been brutal head kick. And he's like, don't throw that. So I'd drop it down and I'd have to cover up real quick because I'm going to get bombed on. And that's just, that's one of those things is with everything that's going on it's how you pertain yourself as a person. I got people here in this town that, oh, he's a great guy, he's a great person, and then you'll hear just the worst about me. And that's hometown living. That's anywhere you're at. You're gonna have good people that say good things about you, and you're gonna have enemies.
No, 100%, 100%. Now, Jesse Velasquez, who is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu purple belt and an IFS MMA champion down here in SoCal, says the memes are the best during the COVID season, and so are the podcasts. So thank you, Jesse. And he also says, "Damn, title fight in the first fight on short notice. Respect. That takes a lot of balls, especially in that situation." So,
I
shout out to
appreciate
Jesse,
that.
but Jesse's shouting you out, my man.
Thank you, Jesse. I really appreciate that. Yeah, and that's one of those things is like I've never backed down from a fight. So when they called me up, it didn't matter who it was. I fought some of the toughest people here. My second fight was actually against Alex Castaneda. He ended up going pro not too long ago, quite a while back. We fought, and then he went on to win a title right after me. So I fought these big top competitors right out of the gates, like a pit bull. And these guys are on another level. You know what I mean? And I'm on that level. I feel in that respect. The thing is just I've had a motivation for pro, and that's all I care about. You know what I mean? I'm not going to say that AMI isn't a great thing. It's good to get that experience in, and that's where you get that experience. Because the logistical side of it, if you're not working on that side of it, then what's going to happen if you don't know what to expect when you're going to go to a top level? And I feel like if I had one of those really great camps, one of those just be able to put my heart and soul, my blood and everything. Life is fighting, I believe. We're always in a constant battle, whether we're going to sleep, whether we're waking up and we're moving on with our day. We got to deal with co-workers. We got to deal with people with COVID and people just being assholes. They're everywhere, but there are great people out here in this world, and it's hard to pertain yourself to find somebody educated and knowledge in those kind of bases where you're on that same wavelength. And it's slim pickings out here sometimes, and we all struggle. And I am no better than anybody else. I do want to say that, like, nobody is better than anybody, and nobody is handed nothing in life. You are not entitled to a damn thing. And I think some of those things that are really misconstrued with people nowadays is that they think that they're entitled to everything. Most of these kids grow up, they're playing Xbox One, and they're hanging out with friends and partying all the time. But you really got to understand, like, if you're not putting in that work, whether it's your job, whether it's your relationships, friendships, family relationships, anything that it takes work and requires everything, is a constant work, whether it's here, or whether it's uplifting who you are as a person. And I think we should not be standstill as people. And there's a lot of things that are going on right now that are just are blockers in people's lives. And if we stop letting the media influence how we should feel about somebody, or you know what I mean, like the Stipe and me can't say his freaking name. But anyways, that fight, right after that fight, everybody's posting memes, and I love them. You know what I mean? But I also got a lot of respect for both these fighters, because I know how difficult that being at that weight and seeing how much they have to put through and the cuts for them is just freaking crazy, and
Mhm.
you got Dustin Poirier out there and Sugar Show, that dude's a monster. He just got caught in a sensitive area and he rolled his foot and the foot lapse happened. But I mean, that's the gist of it. And that's one of those reasons why I would train. I don't care if my foot's broken, you know what I mean? My hand, most of the time, I've compression fracture, going to the octagon with a fracture in my back. What motivates me is to be on that level. And they are on that level. People are, when they pertain themselves to what they want to be and they know who they're going to be.
No, 100%. And Jesse Velasquez kind of echoes your sentiment. Ups and downs are part of the game. It's easy to stay motivated when you're up, but when you're down, that will show how much you really want it and who you really are. And you got to grind for it. Exactly. You got to grind for it. And again, that's what I love about interviewing you guys and gals that are so competitive in the sport, because I mean, some of the things I don't like watch regular stuff, right? If I'm reading biographies, right? And when I'm watching TV, it's essentially documentaries, because I want to see how somebody who was born with essentially the same things, head, eyes, mouth, heart, whatever, right? And how they can ascend and what they did to push themselves towards their greater goal, and how I
Right.
could kind of maybe harness or borrow from them, a mentality, a work ethic, or what have you, and apply that in my own life, if that makes any sense.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think that when you have that wisdom, when you have that knowledge to be able to pass it on to somebody, it helps them evolve as a person. And if we're evolving each other, then we are moving forward into something perpetually better for ourselves, for other people. And one of those things is like I may seem like a really well educated, put together person, but I struggle just like anybody else. I was born with mental disabilities. I'm actually autistic. I have Asperger's, but it's high functioning. So I'm super smart on a lot of things, and not smart in a ton of things. You know what I mean? And that's one of those things is I've been through that kind of ups and downs. I also have schizophrenia, and that's one of those things too. Like I can never really hear people correctly. I actually analytically hear what you say and put the word sentencing together majority of the time. So sometimes when I say what to somebody, or I say, what did you say to me, or anything like that, is because constantly I'm in that battle. The scariest part for me was actually that walk from the starting point into the octagon. It was nothing else scared me after that. I'm inside the octagon. It's perfect. But that walk to the octagon is the most nerve wracking I would ever feel in my life. And I did it to challenge myself. I've done this stuff to bring myself out of this blockade where people are. Will Smith says it best. You take a brick and you start to build a wall, but you say, I'm going to lay this brick as perfectly as I can. And I say, well, why do you need to build a wall that nobody can come in or out of? Instead, build a path. I think that's the a higher line of education, is work on that whatever it is. Maybe your mental state, maybe yourself physically, maybe whatever you got going on, and work on that one piece at a time. Set it down and start to lay a path, and then you'll start to lay it for other people.
No, absolutely, absolutely. And I mean, I really appreciate you being so open and honest, because I too, I have my oldest son as is the same, Asperger's, as well as a bit of schizophrenia, and it's a really tough road, and the fact that you have been able, despite all of the, the physical stuff, the back in your, the badness in your back, the bursitis in your hips, the schizophrenia, the Asperger's, and you still have, you know, lived a solitary, not solitary, but a normal family life, wife and kids, and it's a testament to who you are as a person. And and this goes even beyond fight. You were alluding to the fact that obviously, we all have a bit of fight in us, no matter what it is. Whether you're fighting for that position or Joey Coco Diaz, he always says, you got to fight for your will to exist every day.
Right. Yeah.
Don't think that you did something yesterday and it's hot shit, and then today you can coast on that. No, you got to prove your existence to the universe, your worth to the universe every fucking single part of the day, every second, every minute, every hour. Dedicate yourself to something. And of course, hell, you can rest, right? I mean, you rest up,
Right.
you rested your injuries, right? You took the time, you were, earnest with yourself and your body and what you could and couldn't do, and you decided to take a rest, but you rested at 100 damn %, and
Right.
when it's it's almost like a mullet, business in the front, party in the back.
Yeah.
But when you're, don't be thinking about the party when you're doing business, and you don't be thinking about business when you're doing the party. You got to go 100% in every single thing you do.
Oh yeah. Yeah. If you're not giving it your all every single day, I mean, not every single day you are going to give it your all, but God damn if we don't fucking try. And I don't mean to say that because
No,
I
yeah, no,
love
no,
God with
you good.
every fiber of my being. So I do apologize for that to the Lord, especially. I'm very Christian based. I'm very religious as far as that goes. And I think that everything pushes us forward to excel. I mean, it almost feels like we're right there on that brink of, what's going to happen, especially with that. But I don't want to get into that because it's kind of rude to talk about religion. It's one of those things. But I definitely believe that if you're not putting in all the work that you can in life, what are you gonna get? What are you gonna get out of life? You know, everybody has their own struggle, and it's finding out what you're good at. Most people, you can have a kid, but not be pertained to be a parent. Some people aren't good at it. You know what I mean? And it's not that they're not good at it. It's not that they didn't try. It's that you have to recognize and accept it. Some people aren't made to be parents. Some people aren't made to be doctors. Some people aren't made to be astronauts. You know what I mean? It's about finding out who you are and what you're willing to put in to find out who you are. Most of the time I ask people that. I say, who are you as a person? And I hear, well, I'm a I'm a student that goes to school. That doesn't really tell me who you are, you know what I mean? And that's the biggest question is, who are you? And I think people struggle with that, and without recognition, people seldomly see to propel forward, to move forward in that kind of dedication to figure out who they are. And that's one of those things is I'm a dedicated father. I'm a Christian man. I put God first before anything. And I'm an MMA fighter, and fighting is my life. And I am an outspoken, honest person, and I will always be that person, and nobody will ever break me from that.
That's I love it. It's so brilliant, and again, it's one of those things where you kind of figure out who you are, and what you're about when the chips are down, and how your response is, your ability to kind of roll with the punches, literally and figuratively, and figure yourself out, and what you can mean to your community, everyone around you, and then more importantly to yourself, because it's funny that you mentioned it, because the car you drive, the zip code that you live in, your title at your respective jobs, those are all window dressing, man. I mean,
Right.
one of the highest paid gigs that I ever had, I was working as a marketing assistant, making a lot of money, more money that I made in my life at that point, right? Almost double this, what I expected myself to make, right? And with that all being said, I was never more unhappy, like
Right.
never more unhappy. And you know that, the title, I had business cards with my name on it, won an award for something that I did, and again, never more unhappy. The only times I, and sometimes this would be the thing that justified me even going even beyond my family and providing or whatever. But honestly, I had a coworker that did jujitsu, right? So every lunch hour, we'd go into the like my first jujitsu school and do a 90-minute roll session and then go back to work. And I, towards the end of it, like literally towards the end of it, that was the only reason why I went. I was like, not even the people, not even the perks you get, free coffee, blah, blah, blah. Your office is across the hall from the CEO's office. None of that mattered. I was just like, jujitsu. And even when I
Right.
got laid off, I was just like, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to,
E-
and I,
even at lunchtime, it would feel like, hey man, like I've been thinking about this all day. What are you thinking about? He's like, oh, I'm on the same wavelength, and that's where you kind of lose yourself. If you're definitely in what you're saying about making the most money that you ever made, but being unhappy. That's one of those things. Is if you are doing something that you love, you'll you, you'll never work a day in your life. You know what I mean? And that's one of those things.
yeah, no, I mean, that harkens back to something my dad told me, way back when. I remember it was like I was in the first grade, right? And I originally was born in the Bay Area in San Francisco. And we had a project where we basically had to ask, again, first grade, right? You probably have
Right.
kids of the same age. So how deep this question was for a 8-year old. But it was to ask the most, knowledgeable person in your household that, or you knew, what the meaning of life was, right? So naturally, I went to my dad. My dad, very literal, very kind of introspective in terms of his thinking, and extrospective as well. And the deal is, he he said, "Son, two things," and I got my little notepad, my chubby little fingers, and I was like, "Okay, Dad." And I know he was going to hit me. I thought I was going to get a 1-2 combo, and I'd be out, right? He goes,
Right.
"Figure out what you love." I was like, "Okay, simple enough." Wrote it down, whatever. And then he goes, "Find a way to get paid for it." And that was literally it, right? And that really resonated with me, and I didn't realize how much it resonated with me until, like, I mean, after his death, really, but he was a guy who, great grandson of slaves, grew up in South Bend, Indiana, and most people think that the KKK, they essentially started in the South. They got fire in the South for sure, but I mean, a lot of the first rallies were right there in South Bend on the steps of Notre Dame University, and
Ooh,
that's the reality of it, right? And he comes
right.
out to California because he got drafted into the military, and that was his only way out. He wouldn't have got out of South Bend if not, and even if he had stayed, when you think about it, so my grandfather worked on the auto line, first at Studebaker, later Hummer, right? He worked at the
Right.
auto line, and essentially what happened was my dad would have probably worked for maybe about 10 years, just like his dad did, right? And then the whole auto industry in Indiana and Michigan and Illinois went belly up and has never returned, right? So
Right.
what was there for my dad in Indiana? Absolutely nothing, right? And then he goes to the military, sees untold horrors because he was drafted into Nam, but was stationed in Korea, right? Sees untold horrors, then gets back to his country, and he's basically in San Francisco at the height of the anti-war movement of the early 70s, and he doesn't get a job for 10 years. He's homeless for 10
Oh my
years,
God.
Yes. And
Woo.
crazy enough, because he was a musician by trade, and
Right.
if I can, So going back to what he was talking about in terms of figuring out what you love and finding a way to get paid for it, there was
Right.
a gentleman who had given him money, yeah, periodically over his 10-year period, right? And then one of these days, he just sat down with my dad and said, "What are you about?" and all that. Well, that man got my dad off the street, totally rehabbed him, got him a job with the Guggenheim family, which is again the Rockefellers of the West, right?
Yeah.
And my dad, much like I was in that corner office position, he was working in the mailroom as and he was making pretty good money, but the money had run out. He had just met my mom, who is from the Fiji Islands, right? And he there was like a Wednesday, and Friday was supposed to be his paycheck, and
Right.
essentially they didn't have any food, right? So here he is with this person who he's going to marry, and he can't provide, right? He took his little Casio keyboard because he's a musician by self self definition, right?
Right.
And he goes down to the cable car turnstile in San Francisco, and he just sets up with a hat and his $12 Casio keyboard. He made more money in 4 hours than he did in essentially the whole week, right? So he went back and he said, "I'm not doing it." Collected his check, right? And that's my dad.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So
Wow.
right, and
That's just
it's funny. It's
that.
it's funny because like now it's cliche to say that, oh, I'm from the streets and whatever. Well, guess what? I'm a kid from the streets, right?
Right.
I mean, literally, the reason why I gravitated to Aladdin as a kid, because he was a street kid. Because my dad, he played music in front of Fisherman's Wharf in San Francisco, right? And that was my life, right? And then going from San Francisco to Fiji, back to San Francisco, Indiana, Las Vegas, New Mexico, Georgia, and then finally Inglewood, which again, you get this thing, oh, I'm from the streets, right?
Right.
Well, it's not necessarily a bad thing, right? It You can't use that as window dressing because you came from the streets
Right.
as a kind of like YOLO kind of theory on you being an asshole, right?
Well, I think that most of the time we hear people say that they're from the streets, and like you got some of these rich kids that run around and whatnot, and they've never known like a real hardship in their life. They're viably dependent. They've already have a nest egg set for them and whatnot, and they go through hard times. I'm not going to say they don't. But I mean, it's not like the hard times where you're going to a Little Caesars to eat pizza out of a trash can because you honestly have not a cent to your name. And I've been there. I've been there as a person. I mean, I had nowhere to go. I've done it. And I mean, and that's one of those things when you're down, you're down. But there's only one way to go. And it's what you're willing to do to pertain yourself to everything. And that really, I think, really makes a difference, like especially that story right there is so empowering. Just the power of the time of segregation, war, and his constant life was that a war. But we are always in war. Even now, we're in war with media, fake news, people trying to tell you how to think and breathe. I mean, everything that is right now is because you're being told to. And not just that, COVID is a real thing. But I mean, when you see all these things, you know, Facebook ain't going to tell you half the truth, let alone all of it. I mean, most of it's just propaganda and people posting skits on skits, and they do that, and we got to understand that. But at the same time, it's allowed people to get so comfortable with being rude to everybody else, and to type on their phones and be like, "Well, f you," and you couldn't beat me up in person, blah blah blah, and you're like, "Well, I shouldn't have to." I shouldn't have to, but since you're gonna sit here and troll me, well, and then dude shows up at their front door. I know a couple of fighters have done it. I've seen it on posts and whatnot like that, and I'm just like, that's you do stupid things. Don't expect that stupid consequences aren't gonna happen. You know what I mean? And that's one
Yeah,
of
what
those
is it?
things.
you play dumb games, you win stupid prizes. You
Yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah, most definitely. And it's just like sometimes people are raised in the actual ghetto. You know what I mean? You come to these smaller towns, you come to smaller places and whatnot, and you got these people that are gang affiliated. And they don't even know the South Road of a real gang affiliation or anything like that. And I mean, it, it's just all sorts of stuff similar to that and everywhere you go. And you have a lot of people that are like, oh, I can fight, and you're like, can you really? Can you really? Let's test that theory. I pulled tons of people, back here in my backyard gym, and box people, train people, and I've had a lot of fun doing that. And that's one of those things is like just your story of empowerment from being down to nothing. I've helped people out. I've helped more people out in this town than I can ever even think. Just people that I didn't even know, or that I didn't let get too close, but I still helped them out to a huge extent. Opened my home to many people. I've always provided. People walk down the street, especially people who are homeless. I make sure to run out, give them a couple of sodas, vitamin water, whatever it may be, because that's the type of person, that's the type of people need in this world. We need that person that you see walking by you, say they they're having the worst day. They're thinking about suicide. You don't know. And instead of making fun of them because they're pushing a shopping cart, they're less fortunate than you. Instead, try to bring them up and let them know God bless. You don't have to give people money for to help somebody out. Sometimes all they need is a meal, and I've been there, and I know that. Especially, you saying that your dad came from that era where it was tough, tough. I mean, I've had a little tiny Christmas tree that was literally no taller than a foot with two presents underneath it one year, and other years I've been blessed with over 150 of them underneath my Christmas tree. I mean, it's ups and downs of life. It's ups and downs of life, and no matter what you make of it, you just be the person you are. I mean, and I'm sorry, I really adore that story that you told me about your dad, because that's like during one of the toughest times that, I mean, COVID compared to their time of what they went through. I mean, we're talking back in the day, bubonic plague. We're talking, everything, just as far as where they went and what they could have caught from there, And we come up with all these fancy names for everything now, and we over exaggerated, is how I feel a little bit. Most people, it's just the flu to them. Other people, it's deathly, deathly whatever, And I don't know. I just gotta say, be yourself.
Yeah, no, I agree, and this is very touching. Thank you, Jesse, for saying it. That's awesome. Your dad's a legend. That means a lot. That really does. And Tyson Duckworth out of Alaska, the current reigning and defending Alaskan fighting champion, featherweight champion. He says keyboard warriors,
Yeah.
and it's easy. Jesse's saying it's easy to disrespect people on the internet. Most people will lose that energy in person, though. And yes, that is absolutely happened. I don't know if you know it, but there was like this internet video going around of this guy, with boxing gloves going into gyms and sucker punching people, right? And then he
Oh,
faced he faced a guy.
yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, name's Jesse something another. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Go ahead.
the end of the video is one of my friends, Dejon Daniels, right, out of Vegas, and essentially what ended up happening was, okay, we'll do a fight, not knowing that Dejon was an amateur at that point, but still, a adequate mixed martial artist, and that dude got pieced up
Right.
pretty well. Now, the first 7 minutes of it is him just tearing through, but again, sucker punching people, rabbit punching, all that. Yeah, Charlie Zinoff. There it is. Yep, yep.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
That's
Charlie's
exactly.
enough.
Yeah. So thank you, Tyson, for that. Yeah, and he faced Dejon Daniels, and yeah, man. Yeah, I mean, he literally said, most people say as a euphemism, like I sent him backing. No, the dude literally went backing. He was like threw off his gloves, everything, So
Right.
it's weird. But again, rather than engaging in things like that, because hey man, in my 20s, dude, I was like, oh, you got to feel the way that I feel and blah blah blah. In my 30s, especially down this time, I realized that everybody has a certain set of circumstances that led them down the path that they are, right? Right.
Right.
And if you believe in the theory of outliers, certain things happen for a reason. Whether you call it outliers, God's will, um, mystic law, whatever you want to subscribe to, the same principle, it's similar, right? And there's a certain set of things that have happened in a person's life or in a person's environment that have led them down the path that they are, right? So instead of going like, hey, you don't like guns or you like guns or whatever, I'm like, okay, why? Like, sit there and have a conversation. And guess what? I'm a very big proponent and fan of Joe Rogan, right? And essentially, I'm not married to any one of my ideas. I could be completely wrong, and that's okay. And if you have something and some information that you can give to me to kind of set me in a better way, then I should do it. It doesn't matter how you voted. It doesn't matter who you believe in. It doesn't matter. Like, none of that stuff matters. If you're coming here to sit down with me and help in a way of love and a way of care and a way of compassion, not like, oh, I'm going to prove you wrong, then why shouldn't we open that up? I don't care if you play for a different team than I. Like, I don't care, because at that moment you've shown yourself to me being a part of my team than more of the people that quote unquote are a part of my team would ever do.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, that's one of those things is definitely being a team player. Like, you got to rely on your team just as much as you have to rely on yourself. Because when you're going into something, especially anything in life, um, you have to kind of be a team player. I mean, nothing out here is really singular unless you're a janitor mopping floors late at night. You know what I mean? Like, in all honesty, everything nowadays, you're gonna be around somebody, and and that's one of those things is if you're going into a team aspect, yes, you're going there alone, but you're taking your whole team in there with you. When you lose, your whole team loses, and it's a fundamental that some, I'm going to say this, that some gyms don't really, pertain themselves to, because you got everybody else with that bigger facade. Like, man, I could beat everybody in here, and they just don't care, and you're going to have people like that, but rather have lift each other up. You should always lift each other up, especially when you're at the gym, when you're at the workplace or whatever. Lifting each other up is the biggest high spirit that you can have. Because you ever had that teacher that came in and he's like, all right, class, today we're going to do something freaking awesome. And you're like, oh, crap. You sat there and you started listening. You know what I mean? It's all about how you pertain yourself as as a person when you're doing those kinds of things. And it's the same as a team environment. You're not going to get along with everybody. No joke. It's never going to happen. To think that you're going to be friends with everybody is to open the door to get walked on, I believe. But when you're at the gym, or you're doing anything in life, you need to have people around you and absorb that same kind of thought. People's goals, who they are as people change, but we are changing as far as that goes, and with everything that's going on as well. So
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the reality of it. Is the fact that there needed to be a change in some people's hearts and minds, spirits, and whatever. We kind of, and I was doing it. I mean, in addition to doing this, right? I was working, 10 to 12 hours a day. 60 to 80 hours a week. In addition to attending shows and working them and getting interviews and all that stuff, right? And this is the most time, and I'm sure a lot of people are like this. This is the longest time I've been married, 15, close to 15 years. Three kids, actually four kids, grandbaby to boot, right? And this is the most time that I've been like in the moment, in the field, just like interview you or whatever, we're in the moment, we're present, right? I've never been more present in my family, good and bad, than I have been right now. And it's something that is sorely needed. And of course it sucks, right? If you're a person who's lost their job, a small business owner that has lost their business, that has toiled, for eons, 1 year, 2 year, 10 year, 15 year, 20 year, and now, because most people are like, oh, well, you should have had a rainy day. Well, guess what? There's 90% of people, 99% of people in the world could not survive 5 whole months without income, 5 whole months of a backup plan. That does not exist for a lot of us here. So,
Right.
and again, it's about being present, and what are you going to do to kind of make sure that you yourself, mentally, physically, spiritually, are better, your family, your community is better. And every time, man, it is so hard. You see something that happens on social media and whatever, and you want to engage. And what I've done, and thankfully to guys and gals much like yourself, I go, okay, who wants to do an interview? Right? And Everett Osmer, who's been a really great resource, a great friend, he's like, oh, I've got this person, I've got this person. And then I'll call up a friend. I'm like, hey, Frank Trigg, what are you doing? Want to do a
Right.
podcast? And that is, that same energy that I would have gotten into a useless, right? Because in terms of usage, right? if if it doesn't fall under providing meals for your family, roof over your head, breath on your body, and peace of mind, then it is useless, right? So
Right.
rather than
Right.
engaging into a useless social media argument, I'm all like, let me output some good, right? The same energy, and see whose story, and I've been fortunate enough over the course of 4 years, and specifically this last, what, month and a half, doing close to 50 podcasts in the
Yeah.
last, you know, it's cool because you guys don't have to do this. None of you, none of you. You could have been like, no, screw you, don't want to do it. And you guys, you know, and you guys have let me be a custodian to your guys' journey. And I am so thankful for that. But again, it's that same opportunity. It's that same energy that I could have used for devious tactics and undercutting this person in an argument, and then becoming friends with people and figuring out their story and what they're about. And that, man, it's been so gratifying, and not money, not whatever. It's just been gratifying to me that you guys have trusted me enough th- that we can do this.
Yeah, honestly, I felt really good about it. I mean, I know Everett, he hit me up after he saw, my quick little vid of, me showing off a lot of my pro skills, hit my tire base. So when I was doing that, I had no idea what to expect, and I've never really done a podcast. This is pretty much my first time as far as a real on the air podcast type thing goes, and I said, yeah, you know what, this could be something great for me, and maybe it turns out to be, you know, that nothing comes of it, but I could hope, you know what I mean? That's always the bigger thing in life. Either something does or something doesn't. At least I can bless somebody else with something, and that's if it's my story, if it's my words, if it's something that I've been through in my life and just motivate somebody. And I think Everett right now, for hitting me up and being like, wow, he was like, dude, you got some serious skills. And he was like, do you want to, you up for an interview? And I was like, yeah, I would love to be interviewed, and then I had you hit me up, and, Adam, I'm just so blessed, to actually have this opportunity. So it's not like I'm blessing you in that sense. It's you guys just blessed my life. I look at it like that. You know what I mean?
Yes, and again, I appreciate you saying that. That means, that really does mean a lot. But again, it's those things. Again, your father. We were talking off air where your wife had an accident. An unfortunate accident, and just putting all types of positivity in her direction. You're a father. You've got two beautiful kids. you have to take time out of your day to do this, and the fact that you're doing it, again, I not only do I respect you, I wanted to do right by you for doing this.
And I appreciate that. I definitely appreciate that, and I love my wife Randy Monaco with everything in my being. She's a great mother, perfect mom. I would say in that sense of what a mother needs to be. She struggled for a long period of time. She's just an amazing woman, strong willed, super strong willed. Like I said, she got to try to break up an altercation, ended up getting attacked, and in the midst of everything, she hit the concrete. Somebody else came up behind her while she was getting attacked and pulled her straight to the ground. And she split the side of her head open. She has a little, she has, so it's not life threatening, but it is to her mental state of mind that she might 50% chance that she could heal. She's always been able to articulate really well. And now, she stutters. And this just happened 2 days ago. So, I mean, this is one of those things that, I have to be patient with her. She has to be patient with me so that way I can understand her. And we work together. Relationships are work, like I said earlier. And, I love her with every fiber of my being. And I couldn't imagine being with anybody else. And it's until death does you part, and even after that, the love never goes away. So,
That's amazing. That's a testament, and I mean, in any relationship of any sort, that's something that you can draw upon. And you know, basically, what can I do to make this person's day situation better? Not so much what can they do for me. It's what can I do to basically enhance their life condition, if anything, right?
right. Yeah. I mean, I would say most definitely. And I just like, I hope somebody out there, really hears this and takes a good point of it and, just works through whatever that they're going through. Maybe, you're in that fight in that moment. Maybe it's not a physical fight in MMA. Maybe it's a fight in life at a workplace where you're fighting to earn that promotion or whatever. And, you got that broken back or you feel like so much weight is on your shoulder. Strive through, dig deep, because if you don't, it's kind of like that Rocky Balboa or Sylvester Stallone said in Rocky Balboa, life can chew you up and spit you out and beat you down. It's about how you can get up and keep going. And I've always loved that saying. I'm a Rocky fan. What can I say? But I mean, it's true. How much can you take and keep going? Well, you got to keep going. Life doesn't stop just because you have a bump in the road, because it doesn't. It doesn't. It's not gonna wait for you. This world is way bigger than you know than ourselves.
No, absolutely, absolutely. And Jesse, much like everybody else here, uh, damn, that's horrible. Hope she gets well. So we're all just
Thank you,
shooting.
Jesse.
Yeah, we're just shooting positivity all you guys' way. And that's the thing. It's just the care and consideration of each other, and wanting the person's situation to be a lot better than it was before. So I just hope that that is the case with you and your family, my man. Just because you're such a. I mean, it's funny that you're kind of standing in front of or behind the light and everything like that because you're kind of a beacon. You're a beacon
I
to
appreciate
people that.
that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's pretty fitting, that the background that you're in because you've been that to so many people. I can definitely, we've only known each other such a short time, but you've affected me positively. So, I thank you for that. Now, for those who, I mean, obviously, to get to where you are, you have had some pretty awesome people in your quarter, right? I mean,
Yes.
and not just in the fight game, but just in life. So this is your time, my man. Get some shout outs out of the way.
I want to, so right, real quick, I want to thank all my coaches at Weapons Grade, Wes Loy, Cole Milani, Jessica Slavitt. everybody down there, Johnny Jackson, Jersey Jackson, I have a great team down there, and they're really good to go. They're solid people, people you can kind of rely on when times are tough. I want to give a shout out to my mom who raised me, to be a strong-willed man, and I wasn't always there, so don't let me fool you. Nobody's perfect. So she'll tell you that. I want to shout out to my father, Patrick Cunningham, and just want to shout out to my coach. And I hope that you're still, you're doing better yourself, Cole Milani. And I want to shout out to Arena Wars and kind of get a shout out to them. Matthew Phillips, thank you for letting me be on your guys' card. To the FC Double F, to the Budo fights. These are organizations that have gone through the ups and downs as well, and they're let me be a part of their organizations in one way or another. You know what I mean? And I just want to give just a shout out to my family, just because I love them so much. So I love you, babe. I don't know if you're watching this in the front half of the house. You might be, you might not. I'll find out later. So I just, you know what I mean? That's one of those things, and she'll do that sometimes. So, and I thank you, everybody who commented on here. You guys are freaking awesome. You guys make, you you guys set the tone. You guys set the tone as leaders as well. So don't just think that you don't, because you set the tone as who you are as people, and how you present yourself, especially not just on here, but as a person in life. You know what I mean? And thank you, Adam, and thank you, Everett, for going ahead and getting this set up for me. I mean, this is just an amazing and a blessing thing that I could, give forth today.
Man, it's an honor and a privilege, my man. This is great. And we'll definitely have you back on, because I mean, I think I opened the lid just slightly. It's slightly ajar in the story of what Nathan Monaco. So there's much more, and I definitely want to have you back on to do this again, because yeah, I think your story is an incredible. What it's bred is an incredible person, an incredible father, husband, and again, just dude, you're awesome. Thank you, my man.
Thank you. Thank you. You have a
And,
good one.
yes, and for those who haven't already, where can they find you on social media?
I'm on Facebook. You can look me up as it's under Nathaniel El Santo Monaco. You can find me on Facebook. Just type in Nathan Monaco. I'm from Klamath Falls, Oregon. I fight here and I fight everywhere else. And anybody who's looking, kind of to have somebody, I'm always up to move, to broaden my career. I would, I'd give up everything for this fighting lifestyle. I would love a great camp, and I really do want to go pro. If you want to check out some of my videos on there, they're pretty awesome. If not, thank you for your time.
Dang right. Well, Nathan, thank you for your time. Thank your family for sparing you, to do this with us. But this has been According to Woods with Nathaniel El Santo Monaco, and we are out. Thank you guys for joining us, and like, share, and subscribe. Bye.